Hey there, We Can't Wrestle Podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle Podcast.
Hey, this is a national treasure and the real world's champion, Nick Aldis. And just when you thought that every possible wrestling podcast name in the world was taken, Nate comes in with a clinch with the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Based on Nate's unbelievable level of praise for me, I would go ahead and say that Nate sounds like a knowledgeable, smart, trustworthy human being, and his expertise should be lauded and appreciated by all of the listeners of the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Listening to the We Can't Wrestle Podcast. Now it's time for our host, Nate Matson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle Podcast. Nate Maxon here with you, and of course I am joined by my brother Aaron.
Hello.
By Kyle Army.
That's where you say hello.
Nothing.
Jesus. Get your earpiece, dummy.
And by Archie.
Now he's
Mitchell.
black.
Woo!
And by Archie Mitchell. Hello, Archie.
Woo! Hello.
How's it going out there tonight?
Good, good. Just Kyle seems to have gone dark on us, so we're gonna have to wait and see if he comes back.
Yes, we will try to get Kyle back on the show. But this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, just so everybody knows, coming up, we are going to go back to the year 2002, which at this point is a wonderful excursion.
Yes.
Yes. And we're going to talk about Judgment Day 2002 from May 19th of 2002 in Nashville, Tennessee.
I will say this. This was Aaron's idea. Aaron, I enjoyed
my
watching.
idea.
Yeah, you said, didn't you come up with this like 2 weeks ago that we should watch Judgment?
This was Kyle's.
Oh, this was Kyle's
decision.
Well, I enjoyed watching this pay-per-view again. It brought back a lot of memories of a better time in wrestling.
This was a weird pay-per-view.
Yeah, but the card was stacked, Aaron.
Oh, I know. I have that in my notes, but this was a weird show.
Well, I picked it because of the fact that this is the first pay-per-view that is branded as WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this was...
I mean, that, and not only that, but I mean, you got so much going on. I mean, this is the rise of Brock Lesnar. This is Steve Austin kind of in that weird fucking, period.
He was ready to take his ball and go home.
Yep. And then, like I said, you have what I think is a really cool main event with Undertaker and Hulk Hogan, but this time it's the new, Big Evil Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. Which is one of the best incarnations of the Undertaker. Now, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just going to say it's like super later in my note. It was during the match, but I'll just talk about it now since you guys brought it up. Honestly, this, like the dead man, short-haired, booger red heel Undertaker is my favorite Undertaker. I will take this Undertaker over Greg Love Undertaker any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Fucking love it.
Well, one of my first notes about the show doesn't necessarily have to do with this show, but this time frame. After watching the horrendous WWE draft the past week, the way that why aren't the drafts just the way this draft was back during this time? This draft this year. I'm sorry, and I'm going to get into modern product for just a minute. This draft was fucking stupid. All right, it was like, okay, we are going to pick this whole tag team. Next, though, we're only going to pick one member of this tag team. Next, we're going to pick two members of a tag team and leave the other one behind. Oh, next, we pick all the black guys. Now, we are going to pick a family. It was so convoluted and stupid. The way a draft should go is, I pick this guy, you pick this guy. I pick this girl, you pick this girl.
Well, I didn't watch that.
You're better off having not watched it.
What I'm not understanding is, in this day and age, they're trying to look hip and cool and modern. Why aren't they stealing the routine of the NFL or NBA draft? In that they actually put, which I know there's no general manager anymore, but they deem someone in charge of Raw and SmackDown for that week and let them, after a 10-minute ordeal of the Raw brand picks, and then let them pick. We've had Stephanie McMahon or Shane McMahon step out on the stage and read off 5 draft picks, which make no sense. I argued this point with Andy Shivkumar a couple of days ago. Drew McIntyre was already on Raw. Why did it need to be announced that he was staying on Raw? I know they're all free agents on that night, but a better draft pick would have been, we're taking Big E, not the guy that's already been here as our champion. You know, it makes no sense. It'd be like the New England Patriots are taking Tom Brady, but you already had him for 6 years.
And you bring up E, and I'm really not trying to take
lost
the show
in limbo.
Well, I'm not trying to take the show off the rails. We'll get back, but my point on him was, all right, the New Day is literally the most consistent team.
Yep.
In the modern era. You know, because tag teams in the modern era, they last 6 months and then they're not a team anymore, or
exactly.
Et cetera, et cetera. So you have this team that you've actually consistently had as a unit for, what has it been, 6-7 years?
Yep, about that.
And the way that should have ended from the very beginning was this big fucking guy.
Yep.
Turns on the little guys.
Or at least one of them.
Or I'll even go the other way. You take Xavier Woods. He could be a little shit heel. He turns on those two guys.
You don't.
Instead, you break the team up in some abortion of a draft.
Which, all right, they could have done it that Big E turns on Kofi. Xavier comes back a month later during their feud and sides with Big E.
Yeah.
And you make Xavier his mouthpiece. Because Big E can't cut a promo. I don't care what anybody says. All he can do is cheer and yell.
Right.
But then what was more stupid was, which we're gonna talk about this on 60 Minutes or Less, Kyle and I, tomorrow night. But they traded the tag team titles on Monday night. Oh, wait. You're on Raw and you're on SmackDown, but you've got the wrong belts. How about you guys just hand them over to each other? Okay. What?
Yeah. Garbage.
Hey, you know what I think? I think watching Judgment Day 2002 that nobody opens up a pay-per-view, in my opinion, better than Jim Ross.
I agree. Jim Ross 20 years ago was on fire. If you watch AEW, the man doesn't know who he's talking about. Well, if you ever do, he doesn't know who he's talking about anymore. He mentioned Darby Allin 6 times. Darby Allin wasn't even in the match.
Well, I think now Jim Ross is collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
So I don't think he gives a fuck about what he's watching, honestly.
I don't want to talk about now.
What?
So.
Yeah, you
Go
guys
ahead,
stay on now. I'll stay.
about it is like we're seeing with both companies now where it's not changing, it's not getting any better, and so now people are just fucking phoning it in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And this is what pro wrestling is now. It's this phoned in, hey, we put smiles on people's faces, and I was listening to Jim Cornette's podcast earlier today, and it was the podcast where he was talking to Dave Meltzer after the Dark Side of the Ring, about the Montreal Screwjob.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone into that, not with this, but he said something that was really interesting because they were talking about the history of pro wrestling, how the reason why that they went with Pedro Morales and Bruno Sammartino back in the day was because at that time, like the American newspapers and stuff, they didn't take pro wrestling serious. It was a fucking joke. It was funny. It was, it is what it is. It's pro wrestling. And so they went with the more, they went to like the minority stars to bring more people in.
Just like a politician to electrify your base.
Right. Basically, they evolved, and now we're seeing wrestling, and they're not evolving. They're going off of what has always worked, or what worked the last 10, 15 years, and shit's changed, man. It's not,
Definitely.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we live in a society now where, whether your opinions of it are, but we live in a society now where people watch, people play video games on YouTube and Twitch and stuff, and like that is the new media.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, my nephew who is 13, he watches that shit all day long, and you know what? Good on them for making some money. Good on them for finding a new avenue. But the problem is that pro wrestling has lost their touch, like in general. I think it's interesting. That the guys who went from WWE over to AEW are basically in the same spots that they were when they were in WWE.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Nero is pretty much what he was fucking WWE.
Yeah. Well, and what everything you've said has made my case about the fact that we shouldn't call what we're watching now pro wrestling. It is sports.
Oh no, it's sports entertainment.
No, absolutely.
Let's talk about what we watched.
All right, so
in 2002.
I have a question about Judgment Day. By the way, fuck the damn panda for making the WWE change their name. Those damn pandas.
Well, and it makes it so we can't say the.
Right. Because WWE doesn't sound right.
The World Wrestling Entertainment sounds silly.
Why was William Regal versus D'Lo Brown not on the show? Why was it regulated to a dark match?
Well, because we had to get Trish Stratus and Stacy Keibler on there, buddy.
You're right. I stand corrected. I would withdraw my question.
We are still pretty much. This was funny because, like Kyle said, this was not only was this when they first switched over to WWE. You've got the consolidation. You've ended the invasion, which was an abortion. They should have called the abortion storyline. But also, it's that dying off of the Attitude Era, where it was like we had this Attitude Era where all these things were going on that were outlandish and et cetera, and this starts to become that time where they've run out of shit to do.
Right.
That's outlandish.
And I know we started talking about. I brought up a question and it turned into some diatribe about new shit that nobody cares about. But seriously, guys, I mean, in this era, from like 98 to about 2005, did anybody open a show better than Jim Ross?
No, he made every show feel like it was big.
Whether it was Raw or a fucking pay-per-view or whatever, when that shit popped off and the pyro exploded, that guy was on there like, by God damn, this is going to be a hell of a shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was fucking great. I don't know what he does now. I don't give a fuck what he does now. I'm saying at this time, there was, and there might have been better commentators than this guy, which I don't think there were, but just opening a show. Like, I would even put Jim Ross's, and Nate, you might get mad at me about this, I don't know. Opening a show, I would put Jim Ross over Vince McMahon. And Vince was fucking nuts when a show would start.
I would agree with you, but I would say
I'd put Jim over Vince.
Jim over Vince, I have no problem with. I think the only one that could be even on the same level, if not a little bit hot, Gorilla Monsoon used to open a show pretty damn good too. When you heard Gorilla's voice, you knew it was going to be a good show.
That's actually where I was going to go with it. Is you don't. I won't argue with you, Aaron, over JR and Vince. But and it's probably, and you said 98 to 02, so I have no basis for arguing there. But in that era, in that time frame, absolutely Jim Ross. Nobody could open a show like him. But overall, year over year, for me, it's Gorilla. Right. But you said 98 02 to 02, so you clarified.
Yeah, I ain't arguing. I think it's you said the right thing.
But
nobody since.
Nope.
But here's the thing. It's also a simple fact that, like, I think I'm not saying Jim Ross wasn't great at opening the show. Absolutely he was. But it's also the time. You know, at this time, Raw was must-see. It was an explosion. They came in with fucking war, pyro, and shit blowing up. And, you know, how else is he going to introduce the show? But high-octane, high-velocity.
Right. But he welcomed you to a Raw or a pay-per-view like it was a Monday Night Football game, and it actually made you want to sit there and watch it.
Well, and I'll even go farther than that, Archie, in that I actually a lot of times disagree, and it's funny because I am that guy that says sports entertainment versus wrestling, but I actually disagree with people that say that a wrestling show's presentation should have a sports feel. Because when you said, like the NFL or the NBA or what have you, that's the feeling Michael Cole gives me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're going to be like that, might as well go the whole route.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
it's
that's what he's competing. Vince is only competing with sports now. He has nobody else to compete with wrestling-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't want to watch sport. I want to watch professional wrestling.
So do I, but unfortunately, that's what we got.
So we start this show out. I mean,
with a fucking goddamn fantastic opening match.
We talked about opening it with a great commentator. I mean, you talk about opening up with a good match.
This is the best match on the fucking show.
It is Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam for the WWE Intercontinental Championship.
Back when the title meant something.
Yes.
And this is where we were talking about, I think it was Arch that brought up that this show was stacked as fuck. Like, the first note I have is how stacked of a card is this that Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam are the opening match.
Right.
Well, and I'm going to say it's funny that you say that because I actually I'm doing one of my things where I watch everything on WWE Network in chronological order. So, I don't know, 6-7 months ago I was in 2002, and that was what I thought as I watched the majority of 2002. Like, WWE's roster was so loaded that almost every match on the fucking show was a main event. You know what I mean? Like, God damn. Like, even the mid-card guys are world champions in this show.
Yeah, and if you want to take, like, those... it kind of goes to, like, the modern era type shit. But if you want to take those, like, guys didn't do the flippy shit or whatever. If you want to show them a fucking match where you can take two high-flying dudes
Right.
that can do some flip shit, but not for 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and have some psychology and sell and do their goddamn thing, this is the fucking match to show them. This
I agree.
match was fucking fantastic.
And the craziest thing about this match, other than no doubt, no dispute that it's a fantastic match, but the craziest thing about this match is this isn't even the best match these two ever had.
Right.
They had a ladder match on Raw that was insane. It was insane.
And that even had a fan running on it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the one where Eddie puts the boots to that motherfucker too.
We might say that the Alliance angle was horrible, but if it did anything for the WWE, it helped get them talent in the door that they needed, like Rob Van Dam. And by bringing in guys like Rob Van Dam, it helped push guys like Eddie Guerrero to want to be better, to keep their spot. And that's what this match felt like to me. Eddie was battling Van Dam for his spot.
And if you guys don't want to talk about the finish yet, I'm going to bring up if you guys want to talk more about it, that's fine, but I'll bring up my opinion about the finish.
Sure. Go ahead.
I have never, I watched this, and I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot about this pay-per-view. Until I watched it tonight. First time, it was basically like first time with new eyes watching this.
It's the way I felt too a couple days ago.
The finish of this match, I have never seen anybody do this fucking finish. Rob Van Dam goes for a goddamn spin kick, and Eddie turns it into a goddamn backslide and pins him 1, 2, 3. What the fuck was that?
That was perfection, is what that was.
It was goddamn perfection. I have never seen a finish like that in my entire goddamn life. This match, honestly, was one of the most well-wrestled, perfect matches I've ever seen in my entire life.
Kyle, what did
I
you think?
love this goddamn match.
Kyle, what did you think
That
of Eddie
finish,
and RVD?
that finish, if a finish wanted to make me jerk off, it would have been.
It was good. I wish it would have went 10 minutes more than what it did.
I agree, Kyle. 10 minutes was not enough for these two.
But like Aaron said, we got to get Trish and Stacy on the card.
Oh yeah, that's
For 2 minutes?
really made me want to jerk off.
But hold on though. That match was 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. What?
That's how long it would take Aaron to jerk off. So it's fine.
Well, I mean, but still.
Choking myself with a belt, man.
Go ahead, Kyle.
But it did.
Like this was a 4-star match.
No, I
I
agree.
give this match 4 stars. It was
I
fucking
agree.
fantastic.
I guess like all good things, it's sad that when it's over, and you look back on it and you go, God, I wish I could have more of this because it was so damn good.
In argument towards that, though, I think their reasoning was these guys have put on 20 and 30-minute matches before, and this was just to get the fans excited. So I understand why it was only 10 minutes, but us as fans were craving them to go 20 minutes. You know what I mean? We wanted to see them both perform a frog splash. You know what I mean? And not end with a roll-up.
But here's the thing, though,
That goddamn roll-up was beautiful.
Oh, no, it was. I agree. Go ahead, Kyle.
and I get that, but here's the thing, and this is the problem, that the Intercontinental Championships had for a long time. When you only give this fucking title 10 minutes, it doesn't mean shit.
I think in 10 minutes, though, here's where I'll part ways with you a little on this. In 10 minutes, Eddie and RVD did what most guys would need 25 minutes to do.
Exactly. They told the story in 10 minutes that no one's able to tell that kind of story in 10 minutes. I don't care who you are.
This is true.
You know.
So now we get the first incarnation of Batista in the WWE as Deacon Batista.
Deacon
Bautista. With Reverend Devon, Stacy Keibler, a little segment in the back with Vince McMahon. This Vince is funny. The 2002 to 2006.
He had no choice but to be funny.
It's 2002 Vince was hornier than any Vince ever.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. The 2002 to like 2005, 2006 Vince is, okay, you have three Vinces. Well, four Vinces. You have Bowtie Vince as the commentator.
Right.
You have Mr. McMahon Vince that had the body, the dark hair. He's going to walk out with his fucking Vince walk and everything with Austin. You have this Vince, which is like, even though this is still old Vince, for a wrestling fan, this is middle-aged Vince.
Right.
And now you have ancient Vince. And those are the four Vinces.
Senile Vince.
Don't forget like Canary Yellow, Crush Powder Blue.
That's if we're talking about his career, that's fetus Vince.
Yeah, it's like young Vince.
I'm here with Antonino Rocca to commentate for an hour about some of the most boring fucking wrestling you're ever gonna watch, ladies and gentlemen.
Until it's amazing.
Dusty Rose shows up.
How he goes from like the tale of Vince McMahon is like the tale of a man's life.
Yeah. I mean, we've watched him literally age and go through all these phases, and like he went from the most revolutionary guy in wrestling to senile. That's why sometimes people argue with me, but really, honest to God, to me, in 2020, Vince McMahon has become Vern Gagne.
He's crapping in the yard.
He's just become this out of touch old fuck.
The thing that bothers me is when I read.
Eventually, he's going to kill a guy.
Right. The thing that bothers me is that when I read stories that he walked in and ripped up the script at 6:30 and rewrote it until by 8:00 for Raw, and I'm like, that's not the act of a normal man. That's a senile old man who just got really angry and went Raw, and then went, oh shit, what did I do? Because he went back to reality.
He's got so much money, people are just going to let him do it.
Right.
But we're talking about 2002 Vince, and 2002 Vince is fun.
Yeah, he wants to fuck Stacy Keibler in the butt.
He probably did.
I'll be watching.
I think it's which Royal Rumble is it where I'm trying to think if it's 2004 or 2005, one of the Royal Rumbles, like the entire thing is he has like Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler.
That's 06.
No, Candice Michelle.
Yeah, it's 06.
I just love the fact that like the entire night Vince is like, I'm hanging out here tonight with the ladies, like, like all you see of Vince like that entire night.
They resurrected the little love seat that him and Shane had to sit on. I don't know.
It's time to take out the trash.
Yes, there's an episode of Raw where Shane and Vince.
It's the one where they dump Eric Bischoff in the dumpster.
Okay, yeah. But Aaron and I, like the night the show aired, this has been a joke between the two of us since it aired. It's the segments with Vince, especially the end segment with Vince and Shane is awkward because it's like they got them the smallest little love seat that they could to sit on together. And it's just like, and Vince is like, it's time to take out the trash. But he's almost picking Shane's nose when he puts his hand up because they're so close together. But anyway.
I'm next to the one sibling I don't want to sleep with. Get away from me.
And had they given him his chance at booking, he might have made that a storyline because he wanted to with Stephanie. So who knows?
Oof.
And he probably wants to with Hunter.
But Batista looks particularly jacked here, like he's going to be an injury-prone guy. I don't know how I would ever predict that.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to Deacon Batista.
I wonder if he, got injured a lot because of his
Steroid abuse? No, never mind.
But now we get a Get the F Out ad, the one with the bush. Fucking whatever. Yeah, shut up, Aaron.
First off, is it just me, or I love fucking Reverend Devon?
It's just you.
No, it wasn't a bad gimmick. It was kind of like Slick meeting Brother Love, but then
No, I
Devon
put this
putting
on
his
my
spin
notes. Reverend Devon was fucking stupid.
I don't know.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't.
No,
wrong
it was
time.
fucking stupid.
It was the wrong time for it. It just didn't make any sense at the time. Like 2002, who wants a passionate walk out and be like, "Give us money and I'm gonna wrestle," you know? What I mean?
The Reverend Devon gimmick was fucking terrible.
Well, that's your opinion, Aaron.
And
Well, then I
I'm right.
guess I'll be making Kyle a Reverend Devon custom and not you.
Well, you can do that for him.
By the way, did Dr. Death get there?
Not yet.
Oh God, okay. I hope he gets there soon.
Can I
COVID, man.
what marketing genius the whole Get the F Out?
That was
Get the F Out's a good marketing campaign, man.
Oh yeah, like I said, if you have to do it, this is the way to do it. Like, you fucking slap that on a T-shirt. There's no way people aren't fucking buying it.
Oh, without a
And
doubt.
the other thing is, like, if you listen to the show, it's not like I kind of put this in my note. But it's not a Get the F Out thing. Fink is laying the WWE
Super thick.
super thick.
Mm-hmm.
Nate, you'll agree with this too, and Archie, you'll agree with it. This is the high point of the Get the F Out, and if you listen to like every ring introduction that has anything to do with a championship belt, Fink is laying that on thick. He's the WWE champion, the WWE women's champion. He's
That was
laying
Vince
shit.
probably telling him to make sure he
I know
says
it
it,
was.
you know what I
I'm
mean?
just saying, like, Fink was laying that shit on thick.
And I have the perfect evidence to back your story up, Aaron. When I was watching this pay-per-view, my wife came in at the tail end of the main event. And, I mean, fuck it. There's no spoiler here, folks. Undertaker wins the main event of the show. And just to make Aaron's point, when Fink says, "The Undertaker," my wife went, "The Undertaker." Like, she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know anything about the pay-per-view. She didn't know anything about the story. What she picked up on was Fink saying, "The Undertaker," the way that only Howard Finkel can say it.
Right.
So, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And also the reason I put that they were putting this WWE thing on thick was that Fink wasn't the normal announcer. A lot of the time it was Lillian, and I don't think they had the faith in Lillian to get the WWE or now the WWE over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lillian was famous for making flubs while she was reading, out wrestlers coming to the ring. So, yeah, I don't think he believed that she was going to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And
But
it was fucking terrible, for the first couple of years.
She wasn't good even in her later years either, but whatever.
Better, but now,
Beast though, man.
I like Tony Chimmel. I like Justin Roberts. If it's not going to be Howard Finkel, it should have been one of them at all times. You know what I mean?
No one in the history of broadcast or pay-per-view television, though, and has nothing to do with ring announcing, but there's not a person in my mind that has ever sung our national anthem better than that woman.
She was a hell of a singer. I have no problem.
Like, her rendition of the national anthem is like it literally, at times, depending on what show it is or when she's singing it, her rendition of that song can fucking choke me up.
Even more
But
than
anyway.
Gino Khan?
He was like, "Oh, say, can you tutti frutti?" Say, can you tutti frutti? Trish and Stacy.
1.5 stars.
It was
'Cause of the
2.5
titties.
minutes. It was 2.5 minutes of a little boy's wet dream.
And then
But that
the
little
aftermath.
boy
And that little
was
boy's
me.
name was Aaron Max.
And Archie Mitchell.
The aftermath went way too long.
Yeah, agreed.
But I mean, it just all right. I understand Trish really didn't have anybody viable to face at this point. Everyone was kind of like out of the company, or they didn't want to put her against Jazz again, or Ivory or anybody who But like Stacy Keibler didn't know how to wrestle. She was gorgeous. Her legs were really long, but this was badly put together.
And she's one of those people that, again, I mean, like you said, Archie, she's beautiful. She's obviously talented. She's got charisma.
Right.
But my thing about Stacy, even more than Tori, was always that I really do think Stacy's place was, and this isn't her place,
Manager.
like I'm being a chauvinist.
No.
Her place was in an Elizabeth type role.
Right.
Her place was at ringside.
She was great when she was the Dudley's manager.
Yes.
She was great with David Flair, believe it or not. Even though that was a bad storyline.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, she never got good in the ring. Let's be honest, guys. She never got.
She delivered one of the worst looking spinning heel kicks I've ever seen in my life, and this woman had long legs. It should have been easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And she was
I'm
a
not going to
ballerina
complain
and a dancer.
I'm not going to complain because I thought for a minute Nate was going to knock Tori Wilson, and Tori Wilson.
No.
Tori Wilson's the hottest goddamn woman.
I have no problem with Tori Wilson.
But she never became a good wrestler. I was talking about the wrestling aspect of it. Like Trish, anybody that doesn't think that Trish Stratus is in the air of a Fabulous Moolah or someone like that is one of the greatest women's professional wrestlers ever.
Without a doubt.
She started out.
Trish Stratus is fantastic.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm trying to make. Trish started out green as fuck and awful, and by the time she left, she had become one of the greatest, not just female, but one of the greatest wrestlers of her time.
Yeah.
That never happened with Stacy or Tori, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying
here's
I've
where
never seen a Tori Wilson match I didn't enjoy.
You didn't miss much, but
for different reasons than we're discussing
until her underwear came off, you didn't miss much. But
Well,
Trish Stratus,
I liked her in all of
look at-
Tori Wilson's.
You look at you say that some people like criticize. Well, the only reason that kid got to be a great basketball star was because he comes from privilege, or the only reason that kid got such great grades is because his family brought him up in a great school district. The only reason Trish Stratus is as great as she is because she's a product of the WWE. The reason Stacy and Tori didn't grow is because WCW didn't train their wrestlers the right way.
Yeah, and I don't think either of them had the chops to be great wrestlers. And that's not denying talent. That's not denying charisma.
Right.
But that's just being honest.
At this point, WWE was phasing out female managers, so they had to make every woman a wrestler. That's just what it was, But this match was kind of bad, except for what it was, tits and ass. And for 2 minutes and 54 seconds, it was great.
Yeah, 85% of the time, somebody was like, but these guys can't wrestle, Vince. These girls can't wrestle, Vince. And Vince is like, cover him in pudding.
Right, exactly.
Cover him in something. Kyle, your thoughts on this match before we move along?
Kyle's rewatching it. Hold on, it needs a minute.
I gotta catch my breath and get some new socks.
I get why this is on here, but goddamn, it was. Again, it's like, why is this on here when we could have had 10 more minutes with fucking Rob Van Dam
and Eddie? Yeah.
And
Because
again,
because of them titties.
You're at the tail end of the Attitude Era. Like I said, they're running out of shit, but they're still trying to capture that that feeling of the Attitude Era. So you got the TNA on there.
Let's be honest what this was for, though. This match was basically there so Bubba Ray and Devon could be on TV at the same time, and they could try to see how Batista was going to work out.
Mm-hmm. And like Aaron said, the end of that shit went on too long.
Yeah.
Wait.
So now we get a segment with Ric Flair admitting
pointless
to Vince McMahon.
Pointless goddamn segment.
This wasn't a pointless segment. This was a Vince McMahon ego stroking segment where Ric Flair could put over Vince McMahon and say he was right all along about Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, I guess if Vince gets his stroking segment right after my stroking segment, that's okay.
But essentially, that's what it was. It was because we're into this, and I got more on the Flair Stone Cold thing when we get to the match. But we're into a Ric Flair is the owner of Raw, which was always kind of silly too. But anyway,
yeah. How do you not retain ownership of your flagship show, Vince?
Yeah,
Bad coin flip. That's all I can think of.
Flair is the owner of Raw. Has essentially figured out that Vince McMahon was right all along about Stone Cold Steve Austin. That he's a rebellious piece of shit and all that jargon.
He's an SOB.
Yes, he's an SOB.
Stupid. This is a stupid segment.
So we move along into this is. I'd have to go back. I can't remember. Did Lesnar have a pay-per-view match before this one?
No. I think this was his debut on pay-per-view. I mean, I think he debuted on pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he debuted.
No, he debuted on Raw.
Right.
He gave an F5 to Spike Dudley.
This stemmed from, and they didn't show it on here, which is crazy that they didn't show it. But this all stemmed from Brock attacking the Hardys. But there's a segment where Matt Hardy comes out and legit cracks the fuck out of Brock Lesnar with a chair.
I think Lita was
Raw.
Involved, right? He was going to attack Lita or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like there was this, and obviously, like in like real life, he wasn't like attacking her. But Matt comes out and just cracks, and I still don't know why they didn't put it on here, but he cracks the fuck out of Brock and splits Brock in the back of the head, splits him wide fucking open.
Actually, so looking, I just looked it up. Brock had a match at Backlash with Jeff Hardy.
Okay, and that's why I asked, because I couldn't remember. I seemed to remember him having a match with Jeff Hardy, but I couldn't remember if it was on a Raw or if it was on a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
apparently it was on Back Snatch or whatever he called it.
So we have the Hardys against Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
Which Heyman does nothing in this match. It's a handicap match. It's a handicap match.
Can I just tell you guys watching this match, and I want to let the viewers know, or the listeners
how fantastic Brock Lesnar is.
Yeah, I want to let the listeners know that at some point here in the near future, there is going to be an episode of this show that we are all going to tell you who we think are not our favorite, but legit who we think are between the ropes, bell to bell, the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. Okay. Now let me tell you, and everybody that listens to the show, you guys know, I'm a huge Shelton Benjamin mark. I love Shelton. Shelton is an athlete's athlete. Has there ever been a more impressive monster athlete than a Brock Lesnar in his early to mid 20s?
And see,
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
These are on my notes, okay? See? There's my notes. I have
the listeners can't see them, but we can.
Yeah, fuck them.
They're nice notes, guys. I can vouch for Aaron. They're nice notes.
I will say
they're in the lines and shit. Anyway, one of my notes is, was Brock ever bad? Not like a bad guy.
No, Brock.
As a wrestler, was Brock Lesnar ever fucking bad? Have you ever watched a match with Brock Lesnar and went, that was shit?
There are Brock Lesnar matches in 2004 and maybe in 2015 or 16 where he was being a little bitch, like a political attitude bitch, where he didn't bring it. Where I would say, yeah, it wasn't great, but
I can only think of one match.
I can think of a few. I can think of a couple. You know what's funny is actually I think personally he dogged it a little bit in the match he lost the title to Eddie.
But Eddie made the match come alive, so
and he did, and I'm just speaking of Brock.
No, I know.
I think he. But anyway, I don't want to get in the weeds.
The only match I would say that Brock, in my opinion, looked like crap in, and that was because he wanted to, but so did his opponent, would be against Goldberg at WrestleMania with Austin as the referee. You could literally see him sitting in that ring going, "I'm leaving anyway. I don't got to give you a 5-star classic. F you." You know.
And he looked.
That's him being a great fucking heel.
But he was leaving, Aaron. That's not being a heel. That's saying I don't need to entertain you people anymore.
And he looked super fucking lazy in his Mania match with Ambrose because he didn't want to be. That's not
be there.
He didn't want to be there. But anyway, getting in the weeds again.
Now you said earlier that there's ever been an athlete in his 20s, athleticism and the potential Brock Lesnar had, and I think the only guy that I can think of is the Giant.
It's who?
The Giant.
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Because they both. You're right. They both kind of had the same trajectory as far as I'm here. I'm in the main event.
And like I said, you say what you want to say. Paul White in his fucking 20s, that motherfucker could go.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're the size of Andre the Giant in 1982, and you can do a standing drop kick. That's fucking crazy.
Well, you did a missile drop kick at one point from the top rope, Nate.
Yeah.
But then he met a buffet, and he was like, okay, I'm just going to check out now.
Hello, buffet. I'm the big show.
That wasn't even, he didn't even meet a buffet. He met Arn Anderson. No, seriously. Paul White has talked about this. Like, he did like a missile drop kick and thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. And then when he walked away, Arn Anderson looked at him and said, "Don't ever fucking do that again." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You're 500 pounds and you're 7 foot tall. Don't ever fucking do that."
You don't have to show off like that. Your size alone makes them go, ooh.
Yeah.
You know, I find it odd that whenever we're about to have somebody in the virtual asylum, Aaron names drops them. I don't know if he does it on purpose or what.
Usually it's because they suck. But I was.
Oh no! I know you like Arn Anderson. I know you like Arn Anderson.
I love Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson is one of my favorite people in the world. Not that I ever met him or I want to marry him. I just like.
So we met him. I've got the picture.
I did meet him.
Yes,
I guess I did. He'll never remember me, but
I don't know you,
and I don't wanna. But at the beginning of this match,
now where's my beer?
At the beginning of this match, are we going to talk about the match now, or are we just going to keep talking about fucking drop kicks and shit?
That's what this show is. Quit your bitching, and yes, we can talk about the match.
Okay, Brock Lesnar caught Jeff Hardy off the lead. They just caught him. Mm-hmm. Like he didn't stumble with it. Like fucking some jabron on fucking AEW would do. Fucking Jeff Hardy leaped, and Brock Lesnar was just like, "I got you," and just caught him. It was fucking nuts.
And that was exactly what I was saying. Like, the entire time I watched this match, no matter what was going on in this match, the only thought that kept running through my mind is, what a fucking athlete. What a fucking hoss.
Yeah.
This guy is crazy, stupid, strong, and agile, and insane amount of athleticism in this guy.
Like, I was watching this match so intent with how fucking fantastic it was that I focused even more on the commentary. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I started listening more.
Oh, JR knew how to put over Brock.
JR wasn't putting over Brock. Well, he was putting him over. But Vince was slaying Paul Heyman during this. And he wasn't even doing the commentary. He was doing it through Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
He was fucking destroying Paul Heyman during this. Here's some of the things. Here's a couple of things that Vince McMahon made Jim Ross say about Paul Heyman. Jim Ross called Paul Heyman a human urinal. No lie. Jerry Lawler was like, oh, look at Paul Heyman out there. And Jim Ross was like, oh, he's a goddamn human urinal. And then Heyman didn't even tag in yet. And Jim Ross said, or Lawler said something else about fucking Heyman. And Heyman said, sorry, Jim Ross said something else. Or Lawler said something else, and then Jim Ross called Heyman a living, breathing septic tank.
Jesus Christ.
And you're going to tell me that Jim Ross is out there like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and call my buddy Heyman a living, breathing septic tank and a human urinal. This was fucking Vince feeding these guys lines to just beat up Heyman when he was out there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, you think it was payback for when Heyman dropped that promo that Vince told him just go out there and like eat me alive? Because that was
no, this was just Vince wanting to fuck with Paul Heyman and call him a goddamn human urinal and a septic tank.
That promo that from the invasion angle that Vince let Paul Heyman cut on him.
Go out and draw me money.
Yes, and you know what's funny about that? There's two sides to that promo, and then we're going to take our break. But there's two sides to that promo that I want to elaborate on because you brought it up, Archie. Mm-hmm. Is firstly, it is we all love Heyman's promos here.
Yep.
No, there's no sugarcoating that. It is a fantastic Paul Heyman promo.
Which, if he would sugarcoat it, fucking Heyman would eat it.
It is a fantastic promo, and he means every word of it.
Yep.
However, Vince, and here's the thing about Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon watches Paul Heyman, knows Paul Heyman believes every word of that promo with every ounce of his being.
Yep.
But Vince McMahon doesn't give a flying fuck what that fat bastard has to say about him. That's the thing about Vince McMahon, and that's where his age, like in his older age, that's why we're seeing what we're seeing now. Because Vince McMahon, literally, and I don't know him, I've never met him, I don't know anybody that does know him, blah blah blah. But just watching Vince McMahon over the years, Vince McMahon does not give a flying fuck what any of us think about him.
I don't think he I don't think he gives a fuck about what his own family thinks of him.
No, so when Vince goes and says, got a shoot promo on me, pal. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. You know what? Who's got $1 billion in the bank? Right. And whose checks am I signing?
Look, so, Paul cut that promo, and almost 80% of what he was saying is you put me out of business. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, when Vince heard everything he said, you're a bastard, you're this, you're that, you stole from me, you did. When Vince heard him say, you put me out of business, Vince looked back at him and went, you're damn right I did.
Yeah.
Because he did.
From that moment, he was like, who's going to be the last ECW champion? Ezekiel Jackson.
Well, yeah. But guess what? I'm going to win that belt before I give it to Ezekiel Jackson.
And I'm going to wear a do-rag.
Right.
And the only reason is because Ahmed Johnson lost his foot in 2002.
So, all right. So, all of us three blowhards of the show.
Did Ahmed Johnson really lose his foot in 2002?
Not that
I
I'm
don't
aware
think
of.
so. I don't think so.
So he found it?
Now when he walks, he does the Pearl River lunge.
So you found it. Oh my God.
Kyle, before we take our break, do you have anything on the Hardy-Lesnar matchup?
I mean, this
Good. All right, let's take a break.
Stop it.
wonders why I'm a fucking prick to him on. Because the fact is that he got shitty. He was like, "Oh, I was trying to be nice, and you said on our list, our show's gonna be better." It's like, motherfucker, done the same thing to me. So don't even.
Kyle, don't worry. Our lawyer is sending the cease and desist order to Aaron.
Stab it.
All right, like I said, I'll throw it in the fire. I'll throw it in the fire, and I'll never read it.
Fine. When the police come knocking on that door, though,
I won't answer.
Yeah, but again, Kyle, all they're going to knock. Can I help you? Stop it. And then they're going to walk away.
Stop it. Shut the fuck up.
Show you how much Vince McMahon doesn't give a fuck. That motherfucker pissed his pants on live TV.
Yeah.
Right.
He always gets the shit beat out of him. I wish his fucking daughter would learn the fucking that if you're gonna play the heel.
Hey,
you always get
Stephanie's got nice boobs. You leave her alone.
Yeah, Stephanie's pretty hot, man.
They're fake.
I don't care. They're real to me, damn it.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Taco Bell's fucking meat is fake too, but all of that shit on the taco.
Somebody used to make their buns out of their bread out of yoga mats. I still ate it.
Yeah. No. Be the ball. All right. We're going to take our break. We'll be right back with as we continue Judgment Day 2002 on the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We'll see everybody.
So got another page of notes
when we return. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon here with you, along with Aaron, Archie, and Kyle, and we are discussing WWE Judgment Day 2002. But very quickly, before we get back into the show, I want to remind each and every one of you for listening to the show right now, and you have not yet joined the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group. What are you waiting for? Join the group right now. There are two things that I want to bring up. First, Aaron is conducting a Dream Tag Team tournament in the show. Group.
That thing that ended like an hour ago. The Road Warriors have won,
which is going on and causing some controversy and also causing some great fun. These are the kind of things you can get into. Also, we are striving to hit 400 members by the end of October, and if we do, I will be giving away a replica Ring of Honor World Television Championship belt. So, I mean, and it's free. It's absolutely free.
And I promise, if we get to 400 before October, I will throw in a custom of your choosing for a second winner.
Did you hear that?
I'll make whoever the hell you decide you want.
As long as it's not Saba Simba.
Please, anybody but him.
But anyway, yes. Thank you, Archie. That's very generous.
Oh,
of
no
you.
problem. No problem.
And
it helped us the last time.
The Road Warriors have advanced.
The Road Warriors have advanced in the tournament. They defeated the Rock and
Stock Connection.
As it should be.
As it should be.
So that means when my team, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, fight DX, please don't vote for DX just because they were cool.
And also, of course, we would be remiss if we did not mention the Virtual Asylum, The Asylum. If you are a collector or just a wrestling fan, action figures, magazines, 8x10s, whatever it is, we've got it in The Asylum and the Virtual Asylum with Arn Anderson coming up next Saturday.
Oh, Friday, actually. It's the 23rd.
Oh, yes, Friday. I'm sorry. Yes, it threw me off. It threw me off. But yes, it is Friday, the legendary Arn Anderson, who I and Aaron have both met in person, and I guarantee you would not regret getting to have a conversation with Arn Anderson.
I've met Ric Flair. I can't wait. I cannot wait to meet Arn Anderson.
Arn Anderson's very polite, and he looks like a human teddy bear. He's awesome.
Which isn't a bad thing. So yes, remember the We Can't Wrestle podcast group, The Asylum, and of course Archie's group. One of Archie's many groups.
Yes,
World Championship Customs.
Somebody's getting arrested.
Not in my area.
when Archie starts talking about World Championships Customs,
the alarm starts.
Scott Steiner shows up.
Yes, World Championship Customs, where we have custom makers from every genre of not just wrestling, but Marvel, Ninja Turtle, G.I. Joe. The artwork is amazing, seeing what these guys could do. So if you guys like...
It's us.
What's that?
It's actually us.
Yeah, we were the siren guys. Archie's in New Jersey, and we're the ones with the sirens.
Yeah, no, I had them all day today because it rained here. It rained, and more fire department and
somebody
SWAT
raped
cars
a goat.
So, Archie...
Yes.
Aaron, Kyle, and I are all in Ohio.
Yes.
We're all within... We live in a small, stupid podunk town, so we're actually all within 5 miles of each other in Ohio.
Right.
Kyle's town is dumber and smaller than ours.
So, my question to you, Archie, is it the same way in New Jersey, where the minute it starts to rain or snow...
Yes.
People that have driven their cars for 25 years fucking forget how to drive.
Yes. We've talked about this we had a podcast a while back where we talked about things that piss us off. I think Aaron suggested it. And I mentioned that the way they drive when they see rain or snow is like they're seeing a miracle appear. And yes, rain and snow is a miracle. God made it. But people that have been, like you said, Nate, driving for 25 and 30 years, drive like, oh my God, there's water falling from the sky. What do I do?
Like it's the first fucking time.
I mean, it's not Noah. He's not making an ark and we don't have to get on it. It's rain. You know what I mean? It happened today. It was raining.
Jesus is crying. What am I supposed to do?
Where do I go? It happened today. And of course, I was on the road and I literally got behind I think it was a Thunderbird, which I didn't know those cars still existed. But,
mullets are coming back.
Yeah, and the guy was literally doing 22 miles an hour in a 35 swerving. And I was like, what? Like, is he about to hit me? And I'm behind him. I'm like, is this guy about to cause a really big accident?
He was
so
like,
I pulled off.
Can't drive.
65. 35.
So yeah, it's bad. It's pretty damn bad.
So we roll on here with Judgment Day 2002. And
nice segue, Nate.
Thank you. There was no segue.
Booker T hits on Tony Braxton.
Why was she even there?
Like, why is Tony Braxton there?
Deep cut. Mark Lloyd. I wanted to make a point about Mark Lloyd. Mark Lloyd
is a gayer Mike Tenay or not Mike Tenay, or fucking Michael Cole. I said Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay's not gay.
Mark Lloyd is the beginning of all these Michael Cole clones that we have on commentary now.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I think is funny about Mark Lloyd is when The Rock is talking to him, and he's like, He's like, Lillian. He's like, you got uglier. Mark Lloyd. He's like, oh my God, the Mark Lloyd?
the Mark Lloyd.
He's like, that's the question. He's like, who in the blues the blue hell?
Mark Lloyd, right?
And he never got any better, by the way.
I think up until that point, no one knew who the fuck Mark Lloyd was to begin with. So it just emphasized who the blue hell is Mark Lloyd.
He interviews Booker T. Booker T is going on about becoming a member of the NWO and the convoluted storyline where Ric Flair appointed him a member of the NWO.
Yeah, and then, like I said, he tries to rape Tony Braxton.
And then Booker T hits on an attractive young lady standing over in the corner for no reason, or so we think. Or so we think for no reason. That's coming up later on. And now we move into, and I have notes on this. I mentioned it earlier in the show. We have a handicap match. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin against Ric Flair and The Big Show. The Big Show, also a member of the NWO at this time, which...
And I put this in my notes, that the WWE NWO sucked ass.
Big time. I was just about to say it.
But the WWE NWO entrance was fucking awesome.
Yes. With the
melting
film.
Yeah, the melting film. And the music and the black and white and all that shit. The fucking entrance is awesome.
And it's WWE, so you're never going to get better production quality. Right. But yeah, you're right also that the WWE version of the NWO
sucked ass.
Hot garbage.
It could have been so much better, but it just didn't want to manifest into anything.
And it's I mean, it goes back to the fact that at the end of the day, Vince will use something that someone else created, but in the end, that thing is going to be completely ruined.
and it will be killed.
Yes.
If there was ever an ass that needs sucking, it was the NWO in the WWE.
So, Kyle, what do you think about the fact that Vince McMahon face-fucked the NWO in the WWE?
He didn't face-fuck it, he ass-fucked it.
But here's the thing, like, a lot of the stuff that we've done over the years, like, it starts off great. Fucking... You know, because look at those fucking promos that he does when he's like, you know, I'm going to inject the fucking WWE with a lethal dose of poison, and he turns around and it's, you know, it's great. The Invasion started off great. Steve Austin's heel turn started off great. There's a lot of started off great, and fuck, I think Vince McMahon just has a problem with finishing.
But he's a genetic jackhammer.
But you know what? The only people that need to fucking tell you that are the ones who have a small dick. So,
so this.
I don't know if he has a problem finishing. If he does, I don't know.
Maybe that's why he only got Stephanie and Shane.
This Flair Austin.
I was going to ask if you want to find out if Vince has a problem finishing, just ask Stephanie.
Oh God, that was such a bad joke. Ew. Ew.
Archie gave you a
for you, Aaron, this is a family show.
And so's the WWE.
Yes, it's only a family show because Aaron and I are family. That's the extent of the family.
Oh, and Kyle and I aren't. So you're saying we're just two guys hanging out with you? Okay, I understand.
No, you're the cool ones. It's fine.
Hey, Archie.
And that's what Vince told Triple H and Shawn. He was like, "This is just a family show. You guys are two guys just hanging out."
But no,
just watch what me and Stephanie do.
Archie, it's okay, because when we came back from break, did you hear the disdain in his voice when he introduced us?
And here's Kyle and Archie.
I'm here with my brother Aaron.
And Kyle and Archie.
Kyle.
Archie's cool.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Fuck you,
no,
Aaron.
but this Stone Cold handicap match was 15 minutes. It was Eddie and RVD should have gotten 20 minutes. They should have gotten like 6.
And this whole thing didn't work. And they tried. They tried with this. They tried with Bischoff and John Cena. Mm-hmm. They tried so many times to artificially recapture the magic of Austin and McMahon.
Yep.
They tried with the fucking, the Authority and Daniel Bryan. It never works because it's not organic.
The reason I don't think this worked, though, is because Ric Flair was in WCW campaigning against the NWO for 3 and 4 years. Mm-hmm. He was always against them. And now all of a sudden in WWE, I'm a part of the NWO. And so's Booker T. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
And the other reason, like, Ric Flair being against the establishment would be the fact that if Steve Austin and Ric Flair were real people, okay, because I know they're like extensions of their characters or whatever.
No, I get what you're saying though.
But if Steve Austin and Ric Flair were real people, Ric Flair would be like, Steve Austin's fucking awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Ric Flair and Steve Austin would be, Ric Flair's fucking great, you know?
Right.
See,
like, Ric Flair's fucking slamming down goddamn kamikazes, and Steve Austin would be the dude slamming down beers sitting right next to him. You know what I mean? Like, these guys would be cool with each other.
Austin would turn over and go, what the fuck are you drinking? Flair would be like, it's kamikaze. You want one? Austin would be like, what?
Hell yeah. You know? They'd be cool with each other.
Right.
But it's like the whole...
And then they'd beat the shit out of the NWO and be done with it.
Go ahead, Kyle.
All right, thank you. But
You're welcome.
You know, they say that they find out if people respect you is that they talk over you all the time. Just saying, Aaron.
Well, I didn't hear what you said.
No, the problem with everything that WWE did with WCW, it's like when came back and they had him with the NWO. It's like, well, they were in WCW together, so
right. This works.
Well, they're fucking. It's like they just lump shit. Like they act like whatever happens in any other company, it doesn't matter because that's that. Right. And it's like, well, I mean, fucking wrestling fans aren't stupid. I don't know.
Well, some of them are. But
yeah, some of them are, man.
But still, the fact is that, and I don't know why we got to this point where it's like, you know.
You ever been to a UAW hall on a fucking Thursday? They're fucking dumb as fuck, man.
No, you go to a wrestling show and they're doing hold on. And they're selling raffle tickets for an air fryer.
Okay, hold on though. That's at an independent show. How about when you go to SummerSlam and they bring beach balls and start bouncing them in the arena during a match? Jesus, wrestling fans are stupid. I'm stupid. I'm a wrestling fan.
Okay, fine.
No, I get Kyle's point. We're not dumb enough to believe that Ric Flair would chill with the NWO just because of Steve Austin.
We're dumb enough to suspend our disbelief that what we're watching is real.
Right.
Say no, fucking Ric Flair hated fucking Hulk Hogan.
Right.
He'd never have joined the NWO because they made his life a living hell.
Exactly. It was because of the NWO. Flair wasn't on television for a year and a half. All of a sudden, he's going to join them. I mean,
but yeah,
and I think a lot of wrestling fans can't even read.
And like I said,
and thank you for listening to the podcast.
Yes,
even though you can't read, we like that you
because I can listen.
The only wrestling fans that can't fucking read or fucking listen is the fucking guys who listen to ICP. So fuck you and fuck your clown bullshit.
Hey, The Great Malenko was a pretty good song. No, I'm just kidding. I only know that because I watched one
The
of their
great
pay-per-views.
Malenko actually couldn't read.
Boris
Like,
Malenko couldn't read?
Yeah, I
Really?
heard that. Yeah, he couldn't read.
Well, Dean Malenko, if you're listening to the podcast,
What is going on?
So
I heard that Boris Malenko couldn't read.
He didn't need to read.
And
All
then
right.
with the deep
So,
cut date, and I'm
back-
sorry.
Hold on, folks.
But
I'm gonna go find the rails that I need to put this show back on.
Hold on.
So-
Aaron, don't you talk shit about Boris Malenko, because the next thing you know,
I'm not talking shit about Boris Malenko. I'm just saying that guy could not read.
Aaron is concerned that Boris Malenko couldn't read.
but here's the thing. You're gonna have Synclope out, and he's gonna unmask, and it's gonna be a fucking older Dean Malenko.
Dude, Dean Malenko got fat.
There you go. Name of the episode.
Dude,
Dude, Dean Malenko got fat.
Hey, I got a question.
yes.
He got the shakes, too.
Who got fatter, Dean Malenko or Billy Kidman?
Ooh.
Dean Malenko. Kidman still could be a cruiserweight, I think.
No, he couldn't.
Well, I mean, if he lost 20 pounds.
In a titty.
Hold on. If Kidman, then I could be a fucking cruiser.
I'm gonna any day of the week. Who is against Billy Kidman?
He
What?
fought everybody.
No, in Kyle's stupid decision. Like who was against Billy
Hogan, I
Kidman?
thought. No.
What? No, I said who's got fatter, Dean Malenko or Billy Kidman?
Well, Dean Malenko.
Oh,
Dean Malenko's not fat.
Have you seen him recently?
No,
Well, yeah, he looks like he ate 2 children.
but I haven't seen Billy Kidman either. But he got the fuck Tori Wilson. So
Were they really dating?
yeah,
I didn't
married.
know that.
they were married.
All right. So before we get into the
So
match,
Billy
real quick-
Kidman wins
So before we
every
get into
time.
the match,
every
Nate, I have
time.
a
He's just
question.
like, smell my figure. Huh.
Nate, I have a question.
Have Tori Wilson more,
Was
'cause
there anything more racist than when Shawn Michaels kicked Booker T out of the NWO? The whole promo, he's like, and one of you don't belong, and he kicks out the only black guy in the group.
Yeah,
Something isn't right here.
That was
Was
one of
there
those
a-
things.
was
That
there
was
a
one of those
bus?
things where they got a little too cute with
Yeah.
racism.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is there a bus?
you mean like when they did the whole Triple H thing? Like, oh, Booker T, why don't you dance for me with your
Yeah.
nap hair? And it's like,
Or
Oh.
Saba Simba.
Saba Simba.
It just keeps coming back like a fucking boomerang.
The new day has been pretty racist too, slightly.
What
in my
about-
opinion? But
What about when Harley Race looked at Ron Simmons and was like, I had a boy like you that was carrying my bags.
oh god, you're right about that.
well, you know what though? At least they weren't like Vince McMahon. He said the fucking N-word on national television.
True.
And
John Cena said it was okay, though.
and Aaron, you know where I will defend the Harley Race thing?
I'm not knocking the Harley Race.
No.
That was awesome.
Where I will defend the Harley Race thing is being absolutely positively not racist. And
The
Kyle,
black dude beat the shit out of the white guys and he said it.
and Kyle, where I will say that what you brought up about Triple H is the complete opposite of the Harley Race thing. Is that Harley Race says, this you look like a boy that used to carry my bags. And then at the end of the day, the boy that used to carry the bags is the world champion.
Right.
So there you go. You got heel heat.
Right.
Babyface won. With Triple H and Booker T, where that was fucked up,
Triple H
was
went over.
you got the heel heat, but then the fucking elitist white guy still went over.
Right.
Booker T should have won that match, and then the whole thing's not racist, it's a wrestling angle.
Right.
But
So,
anyway, back to this
Stone
show.
Cold.
This Flair.
Everybody, here comes to go Scorpio.
This Flair.
Like when that black lady screams about it, like, you know, the Too Cold Scorpio video?
Aaron's the one that wanted to be done in a couple of hours.
I know. I'm done with after this. I'm done. I won't say anything else.
You promise?
Yeah, I'll keep my fucking goddamn mouth shut.
I'll hold you to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is she warning people about Too Cold Scorpio, or is she excited about Too Cold Scorpio?
Well, judging by her voice,
Like-
she sounded excited, but
That's what I'm saying. Like, is she like, everybody, here comes Too Cold Scorpio? Like, is she super excited or warning people?
the best part about that video is Scorpio getting out of a white Cadillac, like he was cruising.
No,
He was-
my favorite thing about that video is he slammed
Slam
dunking
dunk,
on that
yep.
fucking fat white kid. That's funny shit. But nobody is answering my question.
True confession. I used to do
Is
the
she
Too Cold Scorpio
excited?
dance.
Or terrified.
I think she's excited.
Okay.
That little fat kid that he got slam dunk on, that was
He just put his nut sack right on your forehead.
he did.
Ah.
All right, so Stone Cold versus Big
Yeah, I was
Show
gonna
and
say,
Ric Flair.
Speaking of that style of
Speaking of nutsacks,
early 90s African American stereotype culture, let's do the right thing and get back to this.
nice.
This,
They're getting
this
better,
review.
Nate. They're getting better.
This Flair Austin angle did not work because it did not feel real.
Sorry.
You're not sorry.
You said do the right thing, and the only thing based on what we were talking about thing.
Was what?
Do the right thing.
Oh God.
would that make Nate Max and Danny Aiello?
I'm all right with that. I got my punch in the middle like he does.
Bad match all around. Big Show was kind of clumsy, fat.
Kind
Austin
of.
was phoning. Yeah, he was overweight. He just couldn't go anymore. This was before he took that time off. And
Oh, and he needed
You know.
it. God,
yeah, he
needed
really
it.
did. He really did.
Like I remember, I don't know, a few weeks back, maybe, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Watching WrestleMania 18, and he's at WWF New York.
Yep.
And there's a reason he's not on WrestleMania. Like you have the biggest athlete in the world, and he's not at WrestleMania because he looks like the biggest.
Right.
Yeah, he looks like the biggest smoker in the world. You know what I mean? Like he
he couldn't
looked
go anymore.
Terrible. And he's a guy where I look at him now today and I go, man, I'm glad that he got where he is.
Yep.
You know, because he really, really could have wound up dead early like Andre.
Yep.
You know, and
I
it's
agree.
it's
I just
great.
wish he wouldn't shave the beard and mustache because he looks like King Kong Bundy when he does that.
Here's my. Okay. You have why was Big Show even in this match? Why do we need him in there?
Right. Why
Mhm.
couldn't it have just been Flair Austin?
It's Ric
Right.
Flair, like the dirtiest player in the game, the guy who knows everything.
Right.
Telling me he can't go against fucking Steve Austin?
And it's not even good heel heat.
No.
Like,
No, it's not.
yeah. So, judging by what we're all saying, I think we all disapprove of what's going on here in this deal. So we move
I'm not
along.
allowed to speak.
Aaron, I grant you the right to speak.
I have to go to bed.
So you're leaving us?
Yes.
Aw.
All right. We Can't Wrestle listeners. Aaron is leaving the show.
I'm going to say this.
We're going to sing a ceremonial hymn.
Huh? Hey, Western Philadelphia, ECWO 2003 podcast.
2003 podcast. There was no ECW in 2003.
2300 podcast. Edit that shit, Nate Maxon. Shut the fuck up.
I will not.
Either way,
you're gonna be sobbing Simba because I am not gonna edit that.
I would never cry over anything on this thing.
Good night, Aaron.
Well, no, I'm not done.
Oh! You're leaving.
Settle the fuck down, dude.
He's never done.
What I'm gonna say is this: you can get on Teespring? Is that what it's called? Yeah, if you get on Teespring right now, you can buy some shirts, okay? And if you people get on there and you buy some shirts, in a couple weeks, you'll get a shirt. So do that. And I will also say this, that Archie has great customs. So if you want some custom figures from him, go ahead and buy that.
Thank you.
Kyle, are you doing anything or are you just sitting there?
I'm just sitting here.
Kyle's just sitting there. So you just sit there with him.
Sitting here with my throbbing Simba.
Oh, God.
Whoa, that's nasty. But anyway, guys, seriously, the 2300 podcast is fun. Archie's got his custom figures. Nate's doing his thing over there.
And don't forget Kyle and I on 60 Minutes or Less.
Yeah, Archie and Kyle. I'm a terrible promo guy. Hold on. I'm going to reset it. And Nate's going to re-record it after this. Let's re-rack this.
Of all the shows I produce, this is the one I edit the least because fuck
This is the one you should edit the most because I just got lost here for a second. Basically, what I was telling these people was if they get on Teespring and buy a shirt, they get a shirt.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, and Art got good customs.
Well, all I'm going to say is I must be doing it wrong. I bought 6 shirts. I haven't gotten one yet.
Those motherfuckers.
Oh.
No, I've only purchased one shirt, which is our newest one that reads,
"Get your shoe, dummy." I remember that. That's a callback.
Shout out to Kendall Maxon, Nate Maxon's better half, for designing that shirt because it makes me laugh.
Anyway. The gist of the situation is buy a shirt, get a shirt. Kyle sucks. Archie's awesome. Nate's cool. I'm the greatest. Suck my ass. I love everybody.
Like Roddy Piper.
Good night.
Good night. Aaron legitimately just said goodbye like the guy in How High. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you. I'm out. And Nate just spit his beer.
Yes. Didn't see that coming.
Tater bitches.
Bye, Dick.
Did he say tater bitches? What's a tater bitch? Wait a second. All right, so Big Show and Steve Austin and Ric Flair sucked, which that's horrible to say about those 3 guys.
Well,
it was bad, though.
It's sad. It's sad that you have, again, this is 2002, and Ric Flair, we see that he has so many more fucking years That's
Right.
fucking an actual match between these two.
You have a 16-time world heavyweight champion. I think by this time, Austin was a 6-time world heavyweight champion. And the Big Show, I believe, was a 4-time world heavyweight champion. And you basically disgraced them by doing this because we need to reenact, as Nate said, the Austin McMahon feud, which when they redid it with Austin and McMahon didn't come off as well.
No,
So-
and it goes back to that word, organic.
Right.
You know, Austin
happen.
Yes, Austin McMahon happened organically. And every time they try, like you guys will remember they tried with Bischoff and Cena.
Yep.
Where they had that little period of time where Bischoff was kind of trying to sabotage Cena, and then he'd call him Cena instead of John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And it just came off as so
Forced.
yes, forced, disingenuous. There was nothing organic about it whatsoever. And that's how this felt.
Yeah, the only time
And it's sad because it really is, like we've alluded to, it's two of the best ever. The best ever.
Yep.
But you should have done this story completely. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
All right. You know how I would like this story to unravel? When Austin got fired from WCW, he went to ECW and he cut that promo about how everybody told him no.
Mhm.
No one would allow him to do anything in WCW. What should have happened is Flair should have interrupted Austin during a damn promo or something where Austin's going off on a tirade. And Austin snaps, attacks Flair, and then when he gives his reasoning, it could be, well, it was Ric Flair that was holding me back in WCW. And when I finally got fired by Bischoff, I came to the WWF, I made a name for myself, and now Ric Flair wants to hold me back in the WWF too.
Right.
Makes better sense than I'm mad at my boss.
Well, and it totally does, because if you look at the beginning of Austin and McMahon, Austin was the instigator.
Right.
You know, McMahon wasn't the McMahon literally said to him, I mean, we care about you. You know,
Right.
you know, it's, but you want that rebel feeling, and they just did not recreate that here, and it just
No.
falls so flat.
No.
Yeah.
Austin didn't want to do it either.
No.
the only time that like they again it had involved Austin, but you know you had Austin and Bischoff, and that worked because it was a different dynamic.
Well,
Right.
They had a history there.
And
Well,
Austin, and it also helped. I think it helped that Austin wasn't a wrestler.
Yeah,
Right.
Then, you know, it helped because they were authority figures together.
Right.
And at that time, you know, forcing Austin kind of he's the anti-authority, literally everything that is anti-authority into an authority figure with Bischoff, because I don't care what anybody says, that redneck triathlon thing was fucking funny.
Oh, it was hysterical. I would have liked to seen him redo it against JBL
Mm-hmm.
because at least they would have had, two drinkers, two Texans. But Bischoff pulled it off. And again, I think it's because they had history, and that history was looming that Austin hated Bischoff that made it work. That's why it didn't work with Cena or anyone that Bischoff tried to be the boss and go against him. Because who did Bischoff have history really with in the WWE besides maybe Jericho or Austin or the Big
Mhm.
Show? You know?
You know what my favorite thing that Bischoff did with Austin was when those weird times where Austin would give him a beer to drink, and it was so subtle because fucking Bischoff would just slowly,
Slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But then by the end of the night, he's swilling it. You
Right.
know? The funniest thing in that redneck, and we're getting off topic, but the funniest thing in that redneck triathlon is Bischoff, quote unquote, singing his entrance theme.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so funny. He's like covering his mouth. He's like, I'm back. Oh man, that's funny shit. So we've decided this thing was bullshit, which we knew that from the beginning.
-2 stars.
So now we move on to something that I'm going to tell you guys is my favorite thing on the show. And I know we discussed earlier that Obviously, Eddie and RVD, with the time they had, probably had the best match on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But this next deal is my favorite pro wrestling on the show. Because it's Kurt Angle and Edge. Mm-hmm. It's a hair versus hair match. And this builds through the night, which is Pro Wrestling 101. But the basic root and the basic, meat of this matter is you have two guys that are having a feud. They're great wrestlers. They have a match. There's a finish. It's a great match. There's a finish, and there's a satisfying payoff.
Right. And they have a history of being friends with each other when they were both heels. Mm-hmm. And then Edge kind of got injured and then comes back. And this is really, for me, where Edge finally started to come into his own and didn't need a Christian or a tag team partner. They saddled him with Ray a couple times to be tag team champions, or he went with Jericho after a while and they became tag team champions again. But Edge finally became a single star, which is what he was meant to be during this feud with Kurt Angle.
And not just that, but also, I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off base here, but with this, what's also great about it is the fact that so Angle loses and has to have his hair shaved.
Right.
And now it would just be they'd be like, oh, here's the fucking razor, done. But Angle being smart and Edge being smart, Angle tries to chicken out of it and get away.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they play with the fans' emotions oh, that's bullshit. We're not going to get to see it.
And it's exactly what I said. That is Pro Wrestling 101.
Yep.
They played with your emotions, but they gave you a great match. And they didn't fuck you in the end.
Nope.
They gave you what you came to see. The heel got his head shaved.
Completely.
Yes, completely.
He didn't just get a new haircut.
And I know this jumps forward in the show, but that's fine. We just won't elaborate on it later. We'll just elaborate on all of this at once. As we go through the show now, Angle is kind of running away from Edge and blah, 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 and they come back. The best part, the match was great. I mean, there's not a lot to say about it other than it was a really good match. Yeah, it was a really good match. The best part, after Angle's head gets shaved, when Edge wakes him up.
Yep, smacks him upside the head.
Yes. Perfect. It's perfect. It's pro wrestling. This is what I'm saying.
He could have been an actor and won an Academy Award for his performance on how shocked he was from getting his head shaved.
And yes. Then you go into the next night and continuing on when fucking Angle has that fucking ridiculous fucking wrestling headgear to keep
with that wig.
Yeah.
Of an amazing shampoo that he was able.
It's so stupid. It's stupid, but it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
When he finally gets that headgear pulled off and runs away, the only thing that I would even think to say was close to that is when Punk was wearing the mask after his head got shaved, and Big Show tore it off on a ladder, and you just see Punk shocked. It's like the same thing. Angle was trying his hardest not to show his bald head.
Yes.
I love that. It's so great because, like I said, not only do you give the fans it on that night, then you give them the other pop when they finally get it's revealed.
The stupidity factor is that after all those years, Kurt never grew his hair back, which I'm sure he was probably receding, and that's why he let them shave his head to begin with. But he never attempted to grow the hair back. So you would think after all the shock and awe of, I don't want to be bald, he stayed bald the rest of his career.
Well, that's the only thing that I was going to say that was kind of silly about this is you have a hair versus hair match in 2002 when the coolest guy in the world, Stone Cold Steve Austin, has had no hair for years. But anyway, it doesn't matter. This is great. This match is great wrestling storytelling.
Oh, definitely.
And then we have Booker T. Now, let me tell you guys this. one of my favorite acts in the history of wrestling is Booker T and Goldust.
Okay.
And I think I've elaborated, I mean, way back, probably in the 20s episode, Kyle, like in the 20s and 30s, back in the old days of the show. I've elaborated on this team a couple of times, and it's because I think that, first of all, they're both great wrestlers. And also, these two guys found a great line, of the thin line between being stupid wrestling comedy and being entertaining.
I agree with that.
And together, their charisma, yes, it's wrestling comedy, but it is entertaining.
Goldust allowed Booker T to come out of his shell in the WWE because Booker T seemed like he was holding back. You know, he was still being Booker T from WCW, but he wasn't amped up. And when he finally got to do the stuff with Goldust, he came out of his shell. And then when he did King Booker, it was hilarious even more so because he was doing the British accent and acting up and everything like that. But I think Goldust kind of helped Booker to find his place in the WWE.
It humanized him.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's something that's missing now in pro wrestling where, like, Booker T knew what his role was. He was to be the straight man for fucking
Right.
Now,
Right, and every now and then mix in a little comedy, like when he had the lightsaber and he was doing, you know what I mean? But yeah, I agree with you.
because it speaks so much more volume because when he finally does something funny, it's like, oh, that's, you know.
Right.
But now everybody wants to be the funny guy. Everybody wants to be, you know, like, no, you need the straight man to, you know.
In my opinion, there needs to be less comedy in wrestling for a little while in this day and age. I think it needs, like, I don't know if either one of you guys watched AEW this week, but one of the parts was that, I forgot who it was one of the best friends, I think it was Trent Beretta, ran into the video game that was owned by Miro, a.k.a. Rusev, and that's what sparked him going off and beating the crap out of them. That's comedy, and that shouldn't happen for me. I mean, Miro shouldn't be a gamer. He should be a monster. But my point is, leave the comedy at the back door for a little while, and let's just get down to straight-up wrestling and actual promos, rather than always there having to be a clusterfuck with 6 guys making fun of each other in the ring. You know?
Have one person doing
Right.
like, you know, if you look at WWE, they were smart, like where they never really had more than one per like when
Right.
wrestling. It was like he is the fucking comedy guy and
Right.
touched it. AEW, it's like you have so many motherfuckers trying to be the comedy guys.
Right. Right. I mean, that stuff with Jericho and MJF, we'll get to that on 60 Minutes or Less, but that they're having a steak dinner next week. What? I want to see these fuckers wrestle. I don't want to see them have a steak dinner. You know?
All of wrestling shouldn't be silliness.
No.
And that's the problem. That's the problem, especially, and I know we're getting off on modern product on a tangent or whatever, but it's our show. We can do whatever. But
we'll keep it short.
the problem now is that everybody's cute.
Right.
Everybody shouldn't be cute. You have, let me use as an example, and this is modern. This is literally modern wrestling. Santino Marella had his purpose, and he played his role perfectly.
Right.
In a serious show. There's a place for comedy in wrestling, absolutely. You need levity in a serious situation. But at the end of the day, if I'm to look at this as real or to suspend my disbelief, what I should be focusing on is there's a bunch of really, really tough son of a bitches that are competing for championships.
Yep.
So I should only have 1 or 2 goofs on the show, you know, for a little levity or what have you. But the problem now, again, is everybody's got to be cute and funny, and Miro shouldn't be cute and funny.
No, he did. That was his reason for leaving WWE. He didn't want to be cute and funny. and be the cuckold in the Lana and Bobby Lashley storyline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, okay, now you're the guy who plays video games and wrestles. Big freaking deal. What's the difference?
Exactly.
You know? But the Booker and Goldust segment here is iconic, to say the least.
Fantastic.
You know,
I bought this negligee for nothing.
For nothing. You know, the lights go out. Booker thinks that he's with a hot girl, and then all of a sudden you just hear Dustin's voice, and it's like, what? You know?
And they were so good together.
Yep.
Because they found that balance of Goldust's humor.
Yep.
But the seriousness as well when they were in a match and they were in a tag team.
Right. Dustin knew how to turn it on to be serious in a wrestling match. He knew what he was doing in the ring.
Yes.
But see, that was always what the great part about the Goldust character was, too. In the same regard with, like, Eugene, too. These guys played characters that were goofy or funny-looking, or, you know, with Eugene, he was an idiot savant. With Goldust, he was, you know, androgynous and trying to freak people out. But then all of a sudden, when they got in the ring and the bell rang, they actually know how to go. They're not just goofing off in the ring. They're not doing anything stupid. They actually know how to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what separated Goldust, that he wasn't just, the bizarre one or a freak or the guy that tried to kiss Razor Ramon and Ahmed Johnson. He actually knew how to wrestle, and he played mind games up until that point. You know?
So now, I want to say this really quick. Until I watched this show, I forgot about this Hell in a Cell match. And I forgot how fucking great this Hell in a Cell match was.
I agree.
Triple H and Jericho tore it down in the Hell in a Cell in this match.
I was not aware they ever had a Hell in a Cell match. And all I kept thinking was, when I saw the match about to begin and whatever, I was like, wait a minute, when did this happen? Why did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And then I remembered the storyline, and I went, oh, okay. It went to a Hell in a Cell? Wow. You know.
Also, where Tim White gets injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has, like, I think one more match after this, and then he has to retire because...
And you know what's funny is I honestly thought in my brain that until I watched this and then you go forward into the future, I thought that Tim White's injury happened during one of the Undertaker-Brock Lesnar Hell in a Cell matches, but that's not the case. It was actually in this match. I don't know why I had it in my head that it was it was the Undertaker-Brock Lesnar match, but
because Taker and Lesnar's Hell in a Cell was brutal. I mean, they were killing everybody in that match. So
Timmy wasn't even the official in that one. But I had it in my brain for some reason that was it. But this match is, after watching it, this is literally one of the best Hell in a Cell matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, it wasn't just about using the cell as a weapon. Nobody went over the top or through the cell, but it was brutal where it had to be. You know what I mean? You have two scientific wrestlers actually having a match, but then also going hardcore when they have to.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Well, and like I said, you felt the hatred between these two.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
White gets taken out. You know, it's bloodied and everything else. It's like, that just speaks volumes to it. They're like, no, fuck, no one's safe.
Right.
Right.
Who fucking
Poor Tim White.
Yeah.
And then the finish on the top of the cell, super dramatic. The kind of thing WWE does better than, and it always has done better than anybody else. Super dramatic, theatric. And two of them. Go ahead.
I think this might have been the only cell match that actually had a finish on top of it.
Yes.
Not in the ring itself, or you know what I mean? I think this might have been the only one where they actually allowed a decision to come outside of it. And
it was, because the other times they went to the top,
Someone got pushed off.
Either somebody got pushed off, or Foley went through it,
Right?
or Rikishi gets thrown into the hay, the straw, or whatever the fuck. Which, not that it wasn't impressive, but yeah, I think this is the only time one actually finished on top of the mat, on top of
made us all go, "Oh, I didn't know falls count everywhere."
Right.
You know?
So we have Maven and Tori having a date at the World. It's not WWF New York. It's the World.
Can I make a statement real quick? And I'm gonna be brief. It's gonna be
that's a big fucking margarita.
No. I hated Maven with a bloody passion.
I actually did. I hated Babyface Maven.
No.
Maven.
Maven as a face or a heel was horrible. He should have never have won Tough Enough. There were better people on his season. And it just, I don't know. It was something about him. He looked like a guy pretending to be a wrestler.
Was Morrison in his season?
No, Morrison won with Matt
Capitelli
the following season, I believe.
Okay, so
Maven won with Nydia.
Yeah, I thought Morrison was one of the guys that didn't win, but then got a contract.
No, he won with Matt Capitelli. But in Maven's season, Matt Morgan was on. I believe Ryback was on. That might have been because I think he was in he was on the Miz season. But Matt Morgan was a badass. Shit,
yeah,
I would have took Josh Matthews, who's now the commentator for TNA or Impact, over Maven. Because at least Josh Matthews would have been a believable cruiserweight. But Maven to me was just like... Maven to me was like Matt Stryker was a couple of years later, in that he looked like he was pretending to be a wrestler. Because Matt Stryker's storyline when he first started out was, I was a teacher and I got fired because I came to take the Kurt Angle challenge. And, it's like, dude, go do your day job and just don't be a wrestler.
See, I guess the one place we part ways here is I actually, when they turned him heel and he just became like a shitty little... I did like him as a heel, but I will totally agree on a babyface. He was absolutely ineffective as a babyface.
The only time I marked out for Maven was when he eliminated The Undertaker from the Royal Rumble and The Undertaker beat the crap out of him.
And that was mostly just because of Undertaker.
Right. It had nothing to do with Maven. It could have been anybody, but I was like, yes, it's happening!
If history teaches us nothing else, it's don't win fucking tough enough.
Right.
Jesus Christ. And when Daniel Puder wins, and all he gets is fucking to go in the Royal Rumble and get the
shit kicked out of him.
He had a bad attitude to begin with, but I think if you didn't win Tough Enough, you got better treatment, because look at The Miz. He didn't win, and he became world champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Morrison won, and he still hasn't gotten anywhere near a world title, not counting ECW. You know?
The next match on the show is the only one that I wrote, literally the only one that I wrote on this show that I called a dud.
This was bad.
Billy and Chuck against Rikishi, and Mr. McMahon announces that Rikishi's partner will be Rico. And I'm not hating on Rico.
No.
Decent wrestler, good hand. And at this point, he was and at this point he was literally DDP, because he came into wrestling late in life, and but always a good wrestler.
Oh, I had no problem with Rico. The feud though, because I think he was added because this wasn't that far after the Billy and Chuck wedding.
Yeah,
and then they say, "Oh, we're not gay." And Rico gets very upset with them because, you're outing that I was lying that you were gay, and that makes me look bad and all that. And, I mean, they put him together with Rikishi, and I hate to do a spoiler before we get into how... The match is only 3 minutes long, but they actually won the tag team titles.
Yeah.
And
And I think the storyline lasted all of 7 minutes or something.
Yeah,
It wasn't even something they spent any time on.
Right. Billy Gunn eventually leaves WWE. Chuck Palumbo becomes the biker dude who was a ripoff of The Undertaker. Biker.
You know what the best thing about Chuck Palumbo's biker gimmick deal was?
What?
Jamie Noble showing the box of dildos.
That is pretty good. I won't lie.
Like, I remember even then, even after the Attitude Era, I was like, oh.
Yep. Right.
When he opened the little box of toys, and I was like, oh my.
But yeah, no, this was just as bad as Trish versus Stacy, only without the tits and ass. Unless you count Rikishi.
Any more to add to that, Kyle?
I don't know. Like,
I don't know either.
What?
Was an amazing manager.
Yes.
Rico? Oh yeah.
It's one of those things. I get the fact that he wanted to be a pro wrestler, but he should have been, kind of like Bobby Heenan was. He could work.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Gets tricked into being in the match. And,
Right. And then didn't they put him with 3-minute warning after this?
Yes.
Which
eventually.
Made no sense.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. They didn't need a manager.
Well, even if they did, it should have been Eric Bischoff who introduced them anyway. It used to say 3 minutes. But, like, a guy in a leopard suit with a red shirt is bringing out two thugs. Like, what? No, thank you.
And this is about the time the slippery slope began.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then he becomes exotic Adrian Street for a little while with Miss Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
Then he teams with Charlie Haas, and then he just disappears. No one knows what happened to him. Poor Rico.
Yeah, no shit.
I would have liked him to maybe painted himself silver and maybe tried to go after Goldust. That might have been a good storyline for him. I don't know, but because he was trying to get over that he was androgynous and doing all these crazy things. So, what better person to go after than Goldust? Pull a mind game against Dustin Rhodes that Dustin Rhodes hasn't yet pulled. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's me just fantasy booking.
About that. You're a pro wrestling fan. You want to see the things you want to see.
Right.
Oh, go figure.
It's almost like you watch this your whole fucking life.
Right. I've been watching wrestling longer than anything else.
Right. So it's hard,
But this was hard to watch. Like Archie said, it was only probably about 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes and 50 seconds, according to Wikipedia.
But it was tough to get through.
I don't even know how Rikishi earned a World Tag Team title shot.
No, I'd have to go back and look for context. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know who his original partner was supposed to be.
Probably Scotty. It had to have been Scotty Too Hotty or something.
Yeah, probably.
Because they were still trying to hold on to the whole Too Cool thing, even though Brian left, and
Mm-hmm. So now we roll on to the main event of this pay-per-view.
Yes.
And at this time in 2002, man, the nostalgia for Hulkamania was at its fever pitch.
Yep.
I promise you guys, and I mean, Aaron, at least this time around on the show, he didn't fall asleep. He just said, I'm going to leave and go to sleep.
Right.
But even Aaron at this point would say that he'd have to admit every single one of us that hosts this show at this time in 2002, even though at some points in, during the war with WCW and the WWF or whatever, we would have been like, oh, Hogan, he's past his prime. He's an old fart, blah, 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 blah. When he came back in 2002 to the WWF, anybody that's a wrestling fan that says they did not mark the fuck out for the resurgence
No,
of Hulkamania is a liar.
Something about hearing Real American start up, it makes your mouth drop for a split second. You're like, what?
It does.
You know what I mean?
It does.
And then he comes out and he does his thing. I mean, of course, the whole WrestleMania calling it the Silver Dome instead of the thing was kind of bad. But, I mean, Hogan still gets a pop out of me. I may not be a huge fan, but seeing him makes it feel special for some reason. And this return to the WWE after being in WCW for, what was it, 7 years?
He was, let me see.
93 to 2000?
94 till 2000.
Right,
so
6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year without being in the WWE, and then finally breaking his contract and coming in. And the whole way they did it by him breaking away from the NWO after having such a stellar match against The Rock was magical. It made you realize, okay, this is what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is how I wanted him to come back. And him winning the title, I was okay with it, but he beat Triple H for it. And it was like, you're really going to... I mean, it was the one time Triple H didn't bury somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hulk Hogan.
Right. Hogan buries you. You don't bury Hogan.
Shawn Michaels buried Hogan.
Well, but he didn't.
But
he lost.
yes, he did. But he also sold for Hogan like a fucking clown.
Jesus.
And but anyway, that's a whole nother show
bad.
For another day.
So bad.
Like there are no two guys in the history of the business that can bury somebody like Hunter and Shawn.
Nope.
I mean, bury you.
There was I saw an interview yesterday of Bret Hart talking about something he wrote in his book, and Kevin Nash debunked it. He said, nope, we never did it. But supposedly Shawn Michaels, Hunter, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall approached Bret Hart to be the leader of the Clique. Not on TV, but backstage, because Hart was the world champion. And what they basically reasoned to him was, we're going to take over. So, like, Razor and Diesel are going to be the tag champs. I'll be the Intercontinental Champion. You'll be the world champion. And we'll give Hunter the European title. And then we'll control the whole business. And we'll decide who we want to work with. So we'll give Sean Waltman a title shot. We'll give PJ a title shot, or the Smoking Guns, or whoever, because those are our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And Bret Hart looked at the camera and said, and I looked at these 4 grown men who were acting like teenagers, and I said, I don't want to be involved in something like that, because that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Why should we dictate who's going to be over in the business, and everyone should get a fair shake? And that's why Shawn Michaels was so pissed at him and went off and did the whole Montreal screw job and whatever. But yeah, no one buries wrestlers like Shawn and Triple H.
Nobody.
No.
Hold on a second here, because, and I get with Bret Hart and everything else, but my problem with Bret Hart is that he acts like he's this high and mighty fucking hero.
I agree.
But he's done all the fucking things that Shawn's done. He's done all the things that Hogan's done.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Get to that point without being that way.
Well, and that's absolutely true. Like, you don't get to that point in the business without being that way. Let's be honest. Austin did the same shit.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't working with Jeff Jarrett. I ain't working with Billy Gunn.
I ain't taking F5 from Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, they all get to that point. When you reach that level of stardom, that level of success. Yeah, I mean, they're all hypocrites, but so are the rest of us too. You know, I mean,
here's the thing though. In business like wrestling, or with football, or any sport for that matter, I guess they get to a point where they get that swelled head, and it's like, yeah, fuck that guy. You know what I mean?
But and on the opposite end of the spectrum, there are those guys that, nah, I didn't make it, so I'm just going to be a bitter fucking you know,
right. But then there's guys like Kurt Hennig, who never got a world title run.
Mm-hmm.
And never really got to main event status, which I don't believe that. I believe Mr. Perfect was a main eventer, but You know what I mean? He wasn't in a main event.
Right.
That put people over and actually want to work for this business because, goddamn it, I was born into this business and I'm going to get back to it. You know?
Or even to another extent, I'm going to give that kind of credit to Kurt Angle.
I agree.
And I'm not ever saying that Kurt Angle doesn't have an... Kurt Angle obviously has an ego, but Kurt Angle deserves to have an ego.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have never watched a Kurt Angle match where, first of all, the right thing wasn't done in the finish.
Right.
And Kurt Angle did not make his opponent look like a fucking star.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So, you know, you have your two opposite ends of the spectrum. And then there's the craziest spectrum. And we'll get to our main event, I promise, folks. The craziest of the spectrum to me, because it's one person, is Shawn Michaels.
Right. I
have said for years, literally, there are two Shawn Michaels careers.
Yes.
He has Shawn Michaels until 1998, and then there is Shawn Michaels from 2002 until he retired.
Right.
It's like two different people. Like, how many guys between 2002 and 2010 did Michaels make?
Oh no.
Because he was the one that was willing to put them over. And then how many guys between 92,
right,
after the Rockers broke up, and 98 is
right,
Sean Barry. You
right.
know, it's insane. Like, he is the complete two opposite ends of the spectrum.
In many ways, and you guys know I'm a Shawn Michaels fan. I'm a mark. But I blame him for guys like Chris Candido not getting over into WWE.
Oh, yeah.
Guys like Bart Gunn, kind of, because he kind of favored Billy more, and Bart got pushed aside, so Bart was the Jannetty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, in those younger years of Shawn, the British Bulldog. How many times did Shawn get put over by the Bulldog, and he never did the damn thing for him one time?
Right.
You know what I mean? To even say, hey, Vince, he's a main eventer. Let's give him a shot. You know? And I will always say, in my opinion, Shawn ruined Vader's push in the WWE.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that when he jumped off the top rope and missed, and then he kicked Vader in the head and did that ugly outrage and whatever, that was his way of then going back behind the curtain and telling Vince, he ain't ready. Don't put him in any more matches with me. And
yeah,
that was all we saw.
In that feud, Shawn was no better than the guy that he, at that time, because of politics and wrestling and competition, he was no better than the guy he shit on all the time, which was Hogan.
Right.
Because everybody was all up in arms about Hogan just kicking out of the Vader bomb.
Right.
And then, you know, a year later, we're at SummerSlam, and Shawn is literally lambasting this monster, quote unquote,
right,
in the ring for everybody to see.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, and I love Shawn Michaels. He's my like second to third favorite wrestler ever.
But he was a dick.
Oh God, yeah.
You know,
oh, yeah.
And some say that when he came back in 2002, behind the scenes, he was still being pulling politics. But I think he put over a lot more guys. I think he put over a lot more guys. Jericho, Hardy. He put over a lot more guys than he hurt in his comeback.
Well, and when you talk about politics, I mean, I want anybody, anywhere,
right,
that's in any business to tell me that at any point they've never played politics.
Oh, of course.
And if they tell you that, they're full of fucking shit and they're playing politics at that very moment. So let's be honest.
Kyle and I are going to play politics when we get Aaron booted from doing his reviews.
Oh my.
Power.
Right.
So our main event of the show is The Undertaker and Hogan for the undisputed WWE Championship. Man, Hogan just can't beat The Undertaker in a title match, can he?
He can't, but I feel this was vindication for Taker after the first debacle of him winning the title from Hogan. We all remember when he beat Hulk Hogan, and then the title got held up because Ric Flair interfered, and then it went to the Royal Rumble and whatnot. This was, in my opinion, this was Hogan finally saying, yeah, The Undertaker can go over me the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were only two people, in my opinion, Hogan put over besides The Rock when he came back and did his whole run again in WWE. Taker and Brock Lesnar. Because he let Lesnar tap him out, which is something Hogan never did.
And the blood across the chest.
Right. So this was Hogan doing a favor and telling Taker, it's your time.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you, Army.
Yeah.
Aaron's not here to interrupt you. We're letting you have your time.
The problem with this match is that it's all build up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, considering your participants, it's still an attraction. It's still a big deal.
I'm going to tell you, this match it's the shits. It's the,
I didn't think it was that bad.
Come on. You said it was all build up. Can anybody get the picture of The Undertaker hog-tying Hulk Hogan and dragging him behind his motorcycle around the arena out of their head?
I'd be able to if Hogan didn't have that fucking stupid helmet on.
Right, we don't even know if it was Hogan.
Oh, look, it's Baron Von Hogan.
But look, nostalgia reasons, it was a good match. I had no problem with it. I wish Jericho and Triple H might have main evented, but hey, Hogan and Taker for the title, yeah.
See, but again, like I said, and the problem is that between the two guys is that it's the same thing with. I'll say it. Hogan and Taker have never had like a 5-star classic. They're just not going to. They don't.
No.
They don't mesh well to each other because both of them. Hogan has always been. Hogan has his Hogan match.
Mm-hmm.
And Taker at this time had the Taker match. He was starting to kind of, build on his repertoire and everything else, but we're not fucking 2006, 2007 Undertaker yet.
Right.
And good or bad, it is what it is. Like I said, both guys are older. Both guys, Hogan can hardly probably move because of his knees and everything.
And I guess that's where I kind of give the match a pass. In that I look at this and when we started conversating about this match, I made it a point to bring up that at this time, the Hogan nostalgia feel was still there. And that's why I give the match a pass, because Andre Hogan WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
Right.
If you take that match in a bubble, put it on your screen, no hype, you have no history, you have no idea what's happened. Wow, that was fucking boring. You know what I mean? But it's not, because you know the history and you know what it's about, and you know there's 93,000 people there, and you know it's the biggest fucking event in the history of wrestling. Wow, that was amazing. It was not amazing. It was awful from a wrestling work rate standpoint.
It was a lot of punches and kicks, a headbutt, the outside.
Like a 4.5 minute bear hug.
Right. An attempted slam.
Yes.
Where Andre actually almost pinned him again.
Andre puts up 2 fingers to let the referee know that was only a 2.
Right.
Did you ever?
And that's where I'm kind of I don't want to be confrontational, Kyle, but I'm kind of giving them a pass on this because it's more a nostalgia Hogan versus this shit Undertaker heel character that's kind of just come about, and I think it serves its purpose.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it doesn't serve its purpose. I'm just saying, like, unfortunately, the problem is that, you know, if you go back to Backlash, which I think was a month prior,
yes,
and Hogan had a great match because Hogan was working with a guy who carried most of the weight and could make Hogan look good at that time.
Right.
Taker, I know this is going to sound horrible when I say this, but Taker at this time didn't have that ability, whether it was because his knees or because of, you know, everything else.
Or he sandbagged Hogan. I don't know.
Might have, because he's still pissed about the fact that Hogan, he hurt him. But I'm going to go off of what, kind of going to what you were saying, Nate. Al Snow, I don't know if you've ever watched his shoot interviews, but he basically says that Hulk Hogan's the greatest pro wrestler.
By metrics, he is.
And what he said, and he has a point, because he says, you know, he's like, look, WrestleMania 3, what was the best wrestling match on that card? And they say, it's Steamboat Savage. And Snow says, no, it's not. It might be the greatest in-ring technical work, but the greatest pro wrestling match, Hogan versus Andre, because that's what drew.
Right.
That's what's in that seat. So to me, it's like, what makes a pro wrestler a pro wrestler? Is it the in-ring technicians that we see? Is it the larger-than-life personality that's able to talk a fucking person into the building?
Or is it the audience you're performing in front of?
Right.
Exactly.
And I will use as an example, and we went back to it earlier, or I made mention of it earlier, boring ass WWF TV before 1982. I watched WWF TV before 1982, and there are glimmers. There are glimmers of wonderness, like Superstar Billy Graham, or an occasional appearance by Dusty Rhodes in Madison Square Garden, or Ernie Ladd saying, "Mr. Announcer Man, let me tell you something." You know, Ernie Ladd, fuck, goddamn, give that man a mic and it's gold. But overall, the WWF before 1982 or 83, compared to other promotions, that's a fucking snoozer. It's boring. It's fucking boring.
I agree.
But then, let me plump me down in the Carolinas during that time, and let me watch some Ric Flair and some Don Morocco and some fucking Wahoo McDaniel. Holy shit, that's great. However, the people in New York, the matches they were accustomed to.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that sucks about now, too, is that because, God damn it, cable, streaming, all of that stuff is cool as shit for all of us. But that's another thing that's helped to kill wrestling, because you don't have a territory anymore. You don't have a select group of people anymore watching this certain thing.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch people that go to Madison Square Garden in 1976 and think a Bruno Sammartino match is exciting, because it's not. It's fucking boring. It's fucking boring. But that's what they had. So that was exciting to them.
Right.
You know?
Your point even more when WWF bought CBS, the time spot, and put on WWF, the fans are like, the fuck is this?
Right.
What the fuck is this shit?
Here, you could even go to more present day. during the whole invasion angle, they put on Booker T versus Buff Bagwell. Not the greatest match, but it was a WCW match.
Mm-hmm.
They lowered the lights. They gave the
but
the
they put it on in Tacoma, fucking Washington.
Right. And this was not a WWE a WCW audience, so they weren't accustomed to seeing that type of match. You know, it would be like if we did our podcast on a website that knew nothing about wrestling.
Right.
Like if we did our podcast on Motley Soup, people would be like, "What is this?
What is this?"
They're waiting for Kendall and Nate, not us talking about wrestling.
But the fact is that, you know, like with Hulk Hogan, like, yes, it's a lot boring, but like Hulk Hogan transcended pro wrestling. He transcended I mean, to the point where everybody fucking named. There's only been a handful of guys who've been able to do that. You know, I would put Hogan on that list. I would put Macho Man on that list.
Rock.
The Rock. I'd put Ric Flair on that list.
And Austin.
Right. Austin. Cena.
You have to add Cena, whether you want to or not.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he's one of those guys that now when you look back, it's like, you go, well, fuck, we didn't know how good we had it when we had Cena. Because he carried that shit.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that in itself, you know, I mean, we're going to do a list of the greatest pro wrestlers. And again, what is a fucking pro wrestler?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a difference between, you know, we can talk about how great Dean Malenko is and how great Benoit was and how great, you know, all Mr. Perfect was. But there's a difference between amateur wrestling and pro wrestling. I mean,
yeah. The finish of our main event here comes with Vince McMahon getting involved with an amazing sell job here.
mm-hmm.
I love Vince's selling here because he sells like his old body is dead. And it's amazing. Taker wins the title, which is amazing heel heat. You know, again, the nostalgia feel for Hogan at this time. He just won the title from Triple H. We're going to have a long Hogan title reign. They gave that son of a bitch like a 28-day title reign. But it was great. It was great for The Undertaker's character. Right. And it was the right thing to do because, let's be honest, you're not going to have Hogan available to be on every house show.
Exactly.
And et cetera. So, yeah, let's put it on this re-energized, reinvented heel character Undertaker.
Again, to reiterate my point of how when Taker beat Hogan all those years ago, it kind of made him. Mm-hmm. You know, even though he didn't get to keep the title, he beat Hulk Hogan. He could lay claim to it. So now you fast forward to 2002 when he was Biker Undertaker, the Big Evil. He needed to be made again. And he could use the tagline, "I'll make you famous," all he wants. He needed Hogan to get him over so that people would believe in the Big Evil character.
Mm-hmm.
Honor the days of Hogan being the dominant. Even if it worked, gone are the days of Hogan being the dominant champion coming up against the King Kong Bundys.
Right.
He needed to chase the title.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, gone are the days of the dominant babyface champion.
Right.
I think we'll ever see those again because we've had much now where people expect it to be that.
Even when they are a dominant babyface champion, by 3 months into their title reign, they turn heel.
Exactly.
I imagine that if Drew McIntyre makes it out of Hell in a Cell with the world title in a couple of weeks, once he gets to like maybe December, he'll be starting a heel turn because the fans are going to turn on him. As much as I love Drew McIntyre, this is not what the current fans want.
I guess now it doesn't matter. They can just pipe in whatever chance they want right now.
Exactly. So, but I mean,
so that's Judgment Day 2002. To wrap it up. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Stacked card. I mean, like, this is one of those things when, to go back and watch this when it was like a pay-per-view was a fucking event.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's funny is I actually put for this card, I actually gave this card an 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, the only things on this card that failed were the Flair Show Austin match. And it's not because of the work. It was kind of more about the story and the reaction.
Right.
It fell flat.
Right.
And then obviously I said Billy and Chuck and Rikishi and Rico was a dud.
Right.
But the rest of the show, and
even Trish and Stacy is passable because of what it was for.
Yes, it did exactly what it needed and they wanted it to do. And again, Austin and Flair and Show wasn't even a bad match. It just, to me, it fell flat because of the angle.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, overall, this was a good. This was a good pay-per-view.
Had that just been Ric Flair, not General Manager Ric Flair, with Big Show as his heavy, as his bodyguard fighting Austin, it might have came off more believable than the General Manager and the NWO's Giant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Problem I have with the whole NWO and WWE thing was we also were supposed to forget that that Big Show and X-Pac were ever in the NWO to begin with. Mm-hmm. They acted like they were brand new members, never were in the NWO, didn't know how it worked. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then Flair comes in and adds Booker T, and he's friends with the NWO. It was just convoluted. And adding Austin after he beat Scott Hall, the way that he did, at WrestleMania, it just wasn't working. And I think it was right. I think it was right after this that storyline ended.
Oh yeah, they just killed. Well, it was after Nash popped his quad.
Right.
They just killed it.
But
the fact that they don't just kill it, fucking Vince shoots it in the fucking head like they did the fucking old.
Right.
He's like,
one by one, they picked him out of the NWO. Here, go somewhere else.
He's like, I wanted you guys to hear the NWO theme one last time because you'll never see it again.
And then Austin starts a feud with Benoit and Eddie, but then goes home.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's
which
the
I
thing.
believe, if I'm not mistaken, he walked out because they told him you're going to fight Brock Lesnar tonight on Raw.
Yes.
And he argued that
and lose.
And lose to an F5. And his argument was that's a pay-per-view caliber match. And what they said to him was, yes, you're going to start here and go to a pay-per-view with him. So he didn't want to do business with Brock Lesnar.
Once again, like we talked about earlier, once you get to that level.
Yep. And he wasn't even a champion at the time, so you'd think it would have been like, okay, no big deal.
So, Archie, what did you out of 10 give this show?
I agree with an 8. It was a solid show from top to bottom. It had some decent backstage promos, and the matches themselves were good. In my opinion, it's better than most of the current product we've got now. So more power to it.
And Mr. Army, it was your idea.
Yeah.
So what did you give this show?
I gave it an 8. It was fun.
All right, so we got a consensus, and as his older brother and smarter brother, I'm going to say Aaron gave it an 8 as well. Yeah. So we gave this show an 8 out of 10 here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And
solid B+.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I mean, going back and watching this, maybe in 2002, I would have been like, oh, this isn't like the shit I watched in 97.
Right.
But today, God damn it, I love a show like this. This is worlds better than what we're getting today.
This makes me realize why I'm a fan.
Yes.
And then I watch the current product and I go, fuck.
Why do I invest so much goddamn time in it?
And then I, like you said, I go back and I watch the WWE Network and I go, yeah, that's why. Yes, this is why. And then I go back to the current product and I go, fuck. So, yeah.
And what we're going to do this time around, because actually I think the past 2 shows I've let Kyle sign us off. So this week, I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Thank you for joining us, and please support everything we have going on that we talked about during our shameless plugs. Kyle, we're going to give Archie the sign-off this week.
Okay.
But I want you to, if there's anything you want to bring up.
the only thing I want to say this week is, guys, I got two things. One, again, I know that we keep harping on the whole COVID and all that stuff, but for all those people who say, like, oh, do you really know anybody that has it? I know three people right now who have it.
Mm-hmm.
And one is my sister-in-law. So please take care of each other. Be smart. Look out for each other. Two, I want to wish my mother a very happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Turning 29.
Today?
Yep.
Hey. Well,
Yes.
right now, as we're 16th or 17th?
16th.
16th? Guess what? Mike Maxon, my dad. Also his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Look at that.
My dad's at the ending of the month.
Look
He's
at
the
that. We all got
28th.
that. We all got the connection. See what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Happy birthday, Kyle's mama.
Yes.
Birthday.
And happy birthday, Nate's dad. And
Nate's
Kyle's
dad.
mama.
I know that you could look at heart attack in the eyes and say, nah.
Not today, motherfucker.
Not this time.
So we'll let Archie finish us off tonight on the We Can't
That
Wrestle
sounded so
podcast.
bad.
Oh, yeah, I know. Sorry. It's like on the WrestleMania 20, is it 20, no, 17. There's the ladder match, the
Mhm.
TLC match. And Jim Ross says, Lita jerking Edge off. And then after an awkward pause, he says, the ladder.
The latter.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Oops.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank you for putting up with our silliness and us going off the rails each and every week. Continue to support the page. Continue to support the podcast and the YouTube channel. Join us every week for We Can't Wrestle Podcast. For myself and Kyle Army, live every Saturday or Sunday evening with 60 minutes or less. Join Aaron's fantasy booking tag team tournament that he's got going on at the page right now. Vote. Make sure your favorite tag team wins, especially if it's the Brainbusters. And join us in the Asylum, the World Championship Custom page, and the Nerd Closet for our weekly meet and greets. We've got Arn Anderson coming up this week. So make sure that you tune in for that. And just continue to support the community of wrestling, because the more that you support it, and that doesn't mean buy something, no. What that means is support it, be a member of it, make content in it, so that we can continue to bring you the very best that we have to offer.
And most importantly, support. I know I was giving you the sign off.
No, go ahead.
Most importantly, support this community of wrestling.
Yes.
And I'm going to have a rant. I have a rant coming up about
Yes.
shitty ass wrestling podcasts. Okay.
I can't wait for that rant.
That don't respect, that think they're wrestling people, but they're not. They're fucking marks. And we're all marks, but I'm saying they're fucking marks. There's a difference between a mark and a fucking mark.
Right.
I have a rant coming up about that bullshit. I have a rant coming up about bullshit raffle pages. I have a rant coming up about bullshit virtual signing pages. But for this, the intents and purposes of this podcast, and I've been full disclosure from the beginning of this podcast. Kyle's been from the beginning of this podcast. He knows by the time we're done with this podcast, I'm fucking drunk, people. So listen.
I love drunk Nate.
Yeah. So does Nate. If you're listening to wrestling podcasts, and again, I'll elaborate on my rant that's coming up, but if you're listening to this show, the Asylum Wrestling Podcast, the 2300 podcast, or anything from the Arcadian Vanguard podcast network, being Brian Last, Jim Cornette, etc., you're listening to good stuff.
Right.
Other than that, you're listening to fucking garbage. Okay? And unless you are part of the family that is the Nerd Closet World Championship Customs, the Asylum, and the We Can't Wrestle podcast, you possibly could be getting fucked over.
Yep.
I'm just saying. If you're going to do a virtual event, you need to do it through the virtual asylum.
Don't be fooled by people who put. Never mind.
Don't be fooled by people. Don't be fooled by people that broadcast under their fucking dad's name. And I'm going to get to that shit too.
Yep. I couldn't bring myself to say it. I don't want to get us sued.
I will bring myself to say whatever the fuck I want.
I know.
And yeah, there is more to come. Nate's on vacation this week, so there's some hot shit to come in the We Can't Wrestle page. But seriously,
I want to be live for that because I just want to sit there and be like this.
He's putting his hands together, folks. I'll give you the sound.
I won't speak. I'll just sit there and go, hee hee.
And Archie, I really am going to let you say goodbye. But there's some rant coming about. There's some rant coming about some hot horse shit.
Oh yeah,
in wrestling podcasting and virtual shows. So stay tuned. Archie, send us out with something pleasant.
As I walked on the beach and I held hands with that beautiful lady, I wondered, why is her arm so hairy? Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful night.